Hello, Combat and welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. In this video, it's that time of the week again when we're going to be looking at 10 decks of the week. We're also going to be looking at the new card of the week, Miek, and we're going to have a quick discussion about the patch that came out this week and how it switched stuff up and which cards are actually just seeing more playing, which ones were the winners and losers of the cards that buffed and stuff. Then we're going to take some questions from the community. So let's get into the deck. The first deck is my go-to deck, which is my Fisk Silky deck. Ever since Kingpin got buffed, I've been really enjoying this version of the deck. It's like a take on the old Silky Smooth deck. So you've got Kraven and Kingpin that you can move cards into. You know, Kraven obviously gets bigger on your side. Kingpin obviously makes their side smaller. Spread them out, move stuff around. You have Silk bouncing around, you know, Polaris card, Spider-Man card, Aero, Magneto, whatever you want. You've got Quake to help you with location trouble. Nebula, you just put in the lane and people play there or ignore it, whatever you want. You know, it's up to them. It just builds. Okay, let's get on to deck number 2, which is a bounce move deck. Since Dagger got buffed, this deck, the Dagger's been going everywhere. She might be a little strong, but it's just early games. And not many people play move, right? Like the +3, the buffs to, like the +3 buff, sorry, get it out eventually, is kind of like a meme dead spot right now, right? Any card that buffs +3 has been nerfed, you know, Surfer, Elsa, and a couple more that I always forget. So, but Dagger, because she's a move card, she doesn't really see much play. She should be fine, but who knows? Anyways, so the idea of this deck is you're going to play a load of 1s and you're going to, and 2s, and you're going to bounce stuff around. You know, Iron Fist, move your Human Torch, pick it all up with Falcon, do it again. You know, Iron Fist your Dagger. You've got Cloak, Doctor Strange to move stuff around, and Heimdall, of course. Hercules can be good for bouncing a card. Beast to pick everything up and go again. Kraven's in here for some stats as you're moving up past Kraven. Yeah, Vulture gets big as well. So there's plenty of ways to get big in this deck, and I've had quite a lot of fun with it. Hercules isn't needed. You can switch it out. I did do a video on this yesterday, so if you want to check it out, make sure you look at that video. Next up is a discard list. This is like a take on the standard discard, but a little bit greedier with Wong, Gambit stuff. Well, I mean, I guess it's Wong, right? Because Gambit kind of fits into the standard discard anyway. So you've kind of got like Collector and Wong of what would normally be in here, like another discard card, so like a Silver Samurai or a Daken, right? Instead of those two, you've got Collector and Wong, so that you can build bigger cards. So you can get your Miek bigger, get your Mobius bigger, your Collector can get bigger because you're gonna have Wong, like your Wong and MODOK. Mew 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 mew. Get a load of swarms, get a load of APOC, right? It could lead to something crazy. Obviously, you could Wong Gambit stuff as well. Wong Lady Sif, Wong Blade, all that stuff to help you get a big Miek, help you get Mobius bigger, Collector bigger, all those things. It's a pretty fun deck. Next up, with Blob being nerfed, Darkhawk's got a chance to shine again. Like Blob's not dead. We'll talk about Blob later when we get to the patch notes. But so we've got Leech to deal with any turn 6 Blobs and any just big turn 6s, right? Because like Magneto's really mess up this because we've got Miss Marvel in here, and we're playing a load of 4s and 3s. So Magneto can hurt us. So Leech is just kind of a little tech card. Other than that, we've got the standard Darkhawk package, right? You got your Korg, your Zabu, Rockslide, Darkhawk, Shang-Chi, Iron Lad, and Doom. Those like 6 cards are pretty much Darkhawk package right now. And then you've got everything else in here, right? Shadow King to deal with other stuff to get big. Negasonic, because you're just incredible. Miss Marvel, just a lot of power and stuff like that. So you can get there. It's a really fun deck, and Darkhawk is one of like my favorite decks. Pretty comfort deck for me to go back to. Next up, we've got like an ongoing Thanos list. I had a little play with this. I haven't really played much of it, but I might do a video on it because it's actually really good. For those that have played since launch, You might remember the old destroyer lists before he went back when he was originally a 616, before he got nerfed. You know, you'd just play for 2 lanes. You'd like armor a lane, build some ongoing stuff in there. Maybe Cosmo a lane if you want to destroy that lane, or Professor X a lane, right? And then into Destroyer. Pretty much what you're doing here, but you've got other ways to protect them, right? You can Kyera, and then you can play your wands any way you want with your armor to protect your Kyera. And you missed Fantastic as well. Like, you put your armor mid, stick a Kyera and Fantastic in there, and then you can put your wands each side of that, and then stick a Blue Marvel or Kazar in there or whatever. Hit a Spectrum for some big buffs, Valkyrie to cut them down, or Destroyer just for bam, big power if you get there. Obviously you got your Thanos stones to help you draw, and more wands out there. Really fun deck. Next up, Sarah, because whenever the meta's all over the spot, Sarah kind of has an answer to everything, right? It's Shadow King for anything that's getting buffed up, like a Collector, or Mobius, not Mobius, a Collector, Miek, Blob, stuff like that, right? Then you've got Killmonger for all your wands before people get Kyera out. Shang-Chi for punching something big. Enchantress to get rid of on reveals, ongoing stuff. Sarah to make everything cheaper. Then you've got good stats like Maximum, Gladiator, Negasonic to blow stuff up, Legion for some link, Legion and Quake for a bit of lane control over there. Yeah, kind of has everything. Sarah has everything. I'm not a big fan of Sarah, but the one thing I do like is why I like Darkhawk stuff. I feel like Sarah and Darkhawk list are that flexible that they can have a lot of tech cards in there and a lot of open spots where it doesn't really affect your deck. It just makes it you can tweak it for the meta, and this is why Sarah's just always sticks around. Next up, we kind of got Lockjaw Thanos. I know, we've all seen enough of it, but this is like the old school one, not the blob wins everything type right deck. So we've gone back to the Professor X and the Double Dino and the Vision, Eliath instead of just Infinauts and stuff like that, like the big powerhouses, Scar and Lockjaw and stuff like that. So we're just trying it. It's okay. It's not as strong as the blob, obviously the other decks were, right? But it still does stuff. Blob isn't all that be all end all type stuff anymore, but you can get some decent cards out here. You can get power out, you can protect it, Professor X, Kyera, whatever you want. It leads to some interesting games where it's not, you don't feel like you just overpowering everyone with a blob. Okay, next up is Destroy. Whenever the meta's all over the spot after a patch, Destroy pops up because it's probably the most consistent deck in the history of Snap, right? Whenever I think of a patch or a meta switch, Destroy shows its face. It's been a while, since the Death Wave stuff, where it's been up there as like top dog deck, but it's always been like this tier 2 deck that can just pop up, do work. Like, it's just consistent. It's just where it is, pops up when it wants to, does some work. Like, if people stop playing around Destroy and just start playing wands out there with no armor or Kyeras and whatnot, Destroy comes in, Killmonger's it all, gets a big null death, big null, cheap death. Just, it puts out power, right? It can match like a blob right now. It can match like a 25 power blob, which is why the deck's just consistent. It's just pretty good. Oh god. Sorry. Next up we have Loki. It's a Loki Dino deck. I wanted to put this Dino deck in here because when I get to the Q&A, somebody asked about Devil Dino, so I'm showing some Devil Dino decks. So I am lost. Oh, right. So this is a Loki deck, right? So you get your Quinjet and your card generations in Snow Garden, Mirage, Coulson, stuff like that. We've got Dazzler in here because with Loki decks, you're going to get a lot of cards and you're going to have them cheap, so you can play a lot and fill some lanes. So Dazzler helps just for some extra power, right? Most of the time, you're going to have a 2-6, maybe a 2-8, depending on how much, if you're low key and stuff like that. If you don't low key, you probably still end up, you can still easily end up with a 2-6. You probably get a 2-4 at the minimum, which is still decent enough stats, right? Then you got your Devil Dino for getting big. Gladiator's just some big stats, helps pull stuff out because you got Shang-Chi to deal with anything big. Miss Marvel, you got other win cons without needing Loki, but Loki can also just, if you have like if you got Quinjet into Snowguard, Quinjet, Snowguard, Coulson, and just Loki, right? You can have a hand of cards, and then you've got 2 turns to see where you go from there. So this is a Loki deck, but Devil Dino version. Okay. And the last deck is a Zoo deck. This is an interesting deck. This is a deck that I haven't actually tried. I was missing one deck from my 10 decks, and I looked on Twitter, and I seen this. I can't remember where I've seen it from, but it's like a Zoo deck. You're looking to fill your lanes and their lanes because you have Green Goblin, Debris, and Doctor Doom to fill up their lane, so you can get Mojo bigger. You can also fill up your lanes. So you've got Dazzler in here. You've got Patriot, Blue Marvel, Mystique to buff all your cards. You got Doom and Ultron to fill the lanes a little bit, help you out. Squirrel Girl as well. You know, all these things to help you fill your lanes out. Cards to fill their lanes out, and then you buff them all up, and you hopefully win. So that's it for the deck. So we are going to look at the new card of the week, which was Miek. And then we're going to have a quick talk about the patch cards and which cards got buffed and nerfed and how well they showed. So Miek, I like this card, but I wouldn't pick this card up right now. I wouldn't use a spotlight key on him. I would use tokens on him because I believe Series 4 cards you could buy with tokens. Never use keys for Series 4 cards if you can help it, right? Just save your tokens for them. Why open a Series 4 card that costs 3k for a spotlight key when you could save them and open a card that costs 6k instead of 3 for a spotlight key, right? I've never opened a spotlight Series 4 with a key because it's just a waste. Card, okay. This card is, I don't want to say it's not garbage, but it's not great either, right? It's just kind of in this average spot. Maybe next month when there's the 2 new discard cards, this guy gets some power spike and Miek definitely fits in some of those decks. So it's okay if you like discard. It's worth picking up. If you're not really a discard player, just ignore him. So let's talk about the patch, shall we? So what, Electra got +1 power. Doesn't really affect anything really right now. Kind of hard to say how good it was. I feel like this is more aimed at early game stuff or Zoo players. I'm not really a Zoo player, but you know, I do like the fact that they buffed some of the early cards. Next up, Celine went from a -1 power, I think, was it? Or was it -2? I think she was -1 with Hood, right? For 2 power. I like this change. I've seen a lot of people crying about this change because they're like, oh, it takes away from takes away from Annihilus. But it's also, you know, just sorry. It's also just, sometimes you just don't draw the card. Like, it was too similar to Hood, right? That was a problem, right? If you had this and Hood, you'd be playing 2 negative cards on your board straight up, and then it's kind of, you're always losing on initiative until turn like 4, 5 when you can play Annihilus and stuff. So the 1/2's nice. It still fits in the same decks. It's still nice, but I don't know if it helped to play more, see any more play or less play. I feel like it was just a good change for her, but junk type decks are just where they are right now after the Annihilus nerf. Well, the problem was they didn't fit into the big go tall meta, right? Because they don't really get tall, they just block lane to give you negative cards. So junk's in an okay spot. It's just it needs the meta to shift a little bit from the big cards, which it's doing. Next up, probably the winner of the patch, which is Dagger. So Dagger lost 2 power. She went from a 2/2 to a 2/0, but she gains +3 power when she moves for each enemy card, which is incredible. Like, I've done a couple of decks, played a couple of decks with Move last day or two, and it's quite easy to get Dagger to 20 plus power. She's actually incredible. Maybe she'll see a nerf at some point down the line, but for now, if you like Move, Dagger is a must-have card. She's actually insane. She gets so big. Dazzler has seen some play. What did she get? She went from a 3 to a 2, right? I think that was the change, which makes her more playable. I feel like any decent ability on a 2-drop cost card is good, right? 2 is like the stupidly flexible spot that if you've got a decent ability, it doesn't really matter much about your stats. So I feel like Dazzler has seen a lot more play right now in any type of zoo type stuff, and people are experimenting with the card, which is what you want to see from a patch, right? You want to see these cards that nobody really plays get some love, and Dazzler's definitely been getting some love this week. Viper got +1 power, didn't really change much, still exactly where she is. If you were playing her before, you played her now. The 1 power didn't really do anything. Hercules, a +1 power here. I actually still don't think it did much, but it's made him a little bit better for the fact that, you know, he's a 4/7, you know, it's an extra power, but I don't think it made him any, like, more needed in a deck. Like, I had him in a bounce deck, but I barely got to play him because he's a 4 cost and it's just so greedy. Like, the 4/7 never mattered for me. The powers didn't matter. Like, the thing was being able to get him down and move on to him and get the effects going. Like, it's his effect that matters. Whenever I could trigger his effect, it did okay, but outside of that, you know. Anyways, what's the next? And Blob, the card that got nerfed. So I feel like he's still okay card. He's not this menace right now, but he's okay. He's balanced now. I feel like he is just balanced. I think they've actually nailed us right now. I actually do think they nailed his power, because you can beat a Blob now, and it's just not. They're not going to wave and then just beat you down like that, and you just already lost a lane. So he's in a good spot right now. This is a nerf that was needed, and they actually hit the nail on the head. Okay, last thing, we're going to take a couple of questions from the community. I posted the post asking for questions a little late, so we only got a couple this week. So let's get into it. So the first question is, how do you feel about Devil Dino? Do you think he's fallen off, or does he still get played in decks? Just asking because he's one of my favorite cards in the game. I like seeing him play. So I did kind of quickly touch on this a little bit during the decks. That I did put Dino in a couple of decks. He was in a Loki deck and a Thanos deck. So Dino is one of these cards that's just always going to be there. Earlier players, like Series 3 and just getting Series 4, like getting like Series 3 players, Dino's all the way to go. Really great card. He is consistent. He is a little on the weaker side. I would like to see maybe a little buff to him, you know, but it's just a decent enough card. You can play him in a deck and get away with it, right? He has fallen off. I'm going to compare him to like Ronan and Darkhawk, because like the cards that you need to like fill a deck, fill a hand, whatever, right? So compare him to them. Obviously Darkhawk, now that Blob's been nerfed, probably back on top. And then Ronan and Dino, I feel like Ronan maybe, just maybe, takes over Dino. So maybe I'd like to see Dino get +1 power, but I also think Dino's in an okay spot. But he does, it's not Dino's fault that he doesn't get played, right? It's the meta. The meta just isn't in a Dino favored spot right now. Where like if you play a Ronan deck, right, you're just gonna annoy them by giving them junk in their hands and stuff like that, and then you can get Ronan down into into a Mystique. Where Dino, you know, it's a little harder to control well, it's not control what cards you've got in your hand, but like keep cards in your hand as well as compete on the board, right? Because you want to have cards down to compete, and like where that's where running, you can just keep playing all your cards. With Dino, you've got to make sure you've got cards in your hand for the Dino, so you can do with a little power nerf, but I do think he's okay. Next up, what would you recommend doing if I'm super burnt out on the game but want to keep grinding for my favorite archetype discard to get new cards next month? I'm free to play, so I get about 1 key a week and only have 3 right now. For being burnt out, honestly, I've been there. I've been burnt out on the game. I just literally play an hour a day, get my quest done, maybe not even an hour, you know, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. Make sure I get my quest done each day and that's it. You just keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. Like, it's not hard to just, like, if you go toilet or if you just want to chill on your phone, just pick it up, play a game here and there. Just aim for your quests. Don't really care about anything else. Just get your quests done each day so you get your credits and all that. And then that's it. Just, you don't need to grind. Just do your quests. If you're not enjoying the game, but you're waiting for, like, a meta shift or new cards to come, just make sure that you're logging in each day and doing your quests. Some like doing the weekly quest or some quest might take you a little bit longer, but you know, you just get in there, you make sure you do your quests, get your token, your credits and your stuff. Then when the meta shifts or the card that you want comes out, then you can play more. You don't need to you don't need to be grinding every day. Last question. Are you scared that Marvel Snap are running out of ideas for cards? Both text, power, and cost? No. Right, so there's plenty of characters you can choose from. There is limited stuff they can do with abilities and stuff like that. But I don't think they're running out of ideas. It's more about how to balance the ideas they've got. I think that's where they're struggling. It's like, it's all about balancing, right? I feel like they've got ideas for cards, but some of the abilities that they want to do may be a little strong, so it's all about the balancing act. But for like running out of ideas, no, I really do not think. Like, I know for a fact that they've got like hundreds of cards to choose from in the Marvel universe, right? That's just, it's like sticking to standard characters, and never mind if you like go down like different timelines and do different versions of characters and stuff like that. That could be interesting if they ever get there. So they've got quite a lot. They've got years and years of probably card ideas, but for the abilities, it's all about getting the right ability for a card and making sure it's balanced, which I feel like they've got the abilities down, right? I think like I get an idea that they know what they want for cards. It's whether it's balanced or not. That's the limiting stuff, is the balancing of the cards. Anyways, that's it for the video. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you tomorrow for another video.